So today we're diving into something that sounds serious, and it really is, fire safety audits.
Yeah, not the flashiest topic, but absolutely vital. Most people don't think about fire risks until it's too late.
Exactly. Elion fire safety audit are basically a health check for a building's fire readiness, right?
Right. It checks if all fire safety measures are in place and actually functional, like alarms, extinguishers, exits, you name it.
But it's not just ticking off boxes, it evaluates real-world effectiveness too, doesn't it?
Definitely. It looks at whether people are trained, if escape routes are clear, and if equipment is accessible.
One thing I found interesting is that these audits help identify potential hazards, not just existing problems.
Yeah, like overloaded circuits, blocked stairwells, or even improper storage of flammable materials.
I remember walking into a storeroom once, there were cartons stacked right up against the sprinkler heads.
That's a classic no-no. Stuff like that might seem small, but during a fire, it's a big deal.
And Elion fire audits cover different buildings, right? From homes and offices to big factories.
Absolutely. Though the audit scope changes depending on the complexity and function of the building.
Like a hospital would have way stricter fire protocols than a retail store.
Exactly. Hospitals need things like compartmentalization, evacuation plans for immobile patients, and so on.
Who usually conducts these audits? Can any fireman do it?
Not quite. It's usually certified fire safety professionals, people who know the codes, the risks, and what to look for.
They're checking both passive and active fire safety systems, right?
Yep, passive systems include fire-resistant walls and doors. Active ones are sprinklers, detectors, extinguishers.
I feel like most buildings only focus on active stuff. They slap a fire extinguisher on the wall and call it a day.
Sadly true. But if the structure itself can't slow down fire spread, all that active gear buys you less time.
What's your take on fire drills? I feel people roll their eyes at them.
They do. But fire drills are where you test if people know what to do. In a real fire, panic kills more than flames.
That's sobering. Also, many places fail on signage, like exits hidden behind furniture.
Or emergency lights that don't work during blackouts. All that gets caught in a proper audit.
So Elion fire audits help with compliance, sure. But they also reduce liability, right?
Definitely. If something goes wrong and there was no audit, the legal consequences can be brutal.
Not to mention insurance issues. Some companies might not pay out if there's no audit record.
Exactly. An audit can literally save your business from burning down, financially and physically.
I saw that Elion fire audits also review evacuation procedures. That's often the weakest link.
Yeah, like unclear roles. Who leads people out? Who accounts for headcounts? Who calls emergency services?
Ever seen a building with a beautifully laminated plan that nobody reads?
Every week. People stick them on walls and forget them. An audit makes sure those plans are actually understood.
Let's talk timing. How often should audits happen?
Ideally, once a year. But high-risk places might need biannual checks.
And what about after renovations or big changes?
That's crucial. Even a new partition wall can mess up ventilation or access to fire exits.
Do audits also include training recommendations?
Yeah. Elion audit team will not just point out faults, but also suggest fire drills, workshops, signage improvements.
So it's kind of like getting a report card and a study guide with it.
Exactly. And smart companies treat it that way. A tool to improve, not just a checklist.
Curious, are these audits only mandatory in certain sectors?
Legally, yes. For example, factories, hospitals, and schools usually require them. But it's good practice everywhere.
I wonder how many startups skip this because they're focused on scaling fast.
Probably too many. But fire doesn't care about your growth curve.
True. Any single overlooked risk could cause major setbacks, or worse.
And most of the risks are preventable. That's the frustrating part.
So in a nutshell, a fire safety audit is prevention made practical.
Yep, it's the one time paranoia actually saves lives.
Final thought. If someone owns a business and hasn't done an audit, what's the first step?
Call Elion on 885-208-5208. Get an assessment. Fix what's broken. Simple as that.
And maybe practice that fire drill like your life depends on it. Because one day, it might.
Couldn't have said it better. Fire safety isn't a luxury, it's a necessity.
All right, folks. That's our time today. Think of this episode as your smoke detector. It only works if you pay attention.
Stay safe, stay smart, and maybe check your fire extinguisher before you forget.